The morning after his last attack, a man walked into a Boots pharmacy in Bath. He asked if a baseball cap had been handed in. The staff said no. He left. At 2 p.m. that same day, 2 more men walked in, together. They asked the same question, about the same cap. The following day, a woman in her 50s came in. Same question, same cap. 4 people, 2 days, 1 cap, left at the scene of a violent crime. Who were they? Were they protecting him? And why? In over 30 years, has nobody ever answered that question? This is Bath, England, not the Bath you see on postcards, not Roman baths and Georgian architecture and tourists eating scones. The other Bath, the Bath of empty car parks at midnight, of women walking alone to their cars after a long shift, of streets quiet enough that you can hear your own breathing. A city that felt safe. Cities like Bath always feel safe. That is exactly what he counted on. For almost a decade, between 1991 and 2000, a man hunted the women of this city. He was never caught, he was never charged, he was never even named. And right now, as you watch this, he is still out there, breathing, living, maybe remembering. This is his story, and it is still not over. May 21st, 1991. A woman finishes her night shift. She walks to her car, parked behind her house on a quiet street in Bath. She has done this 100 times. She puts her key in the lock, and then a hand closes over her mouth. Hard, total, no warning. A knife presses against her throat. A voice, calm, controlled, barely above a whisper. Don't scream, don't fight. Do exactly what I tell you. She would later tell police, I thought I was going to die. Those are her words, not mine. He forces her into her own car, makes her drive south of the city, down country lanes, down farm tracks, into the kind of darkness where no one would hear anything. And when it was over, he makes her drive him back. Back to her own street. He gets out. He walks away into the night, like nothing happened, like he has done this before. Because, as investigators would later suspect, he had. The official record says his first attack was May 1991. But there were rapes reported in Bath in 1988, and again in 1989. Same city, same hunting ground, same style. Those cases were never officially linked to him. Never. So ask yourself, was 1991 really where this began? Or was that just where police started counting? Here is what we know about him. White male, slim build, 5'9", blue eyes, a faint scar below his lower lip, always dressed in black, always a cap pulled low. He did not choose victims at random. He hunted them. He studied car parks. He mapped patrol patterns. He knew which streets emptied at which hour. He operated almost exclusively in winter, when night started early and darkness arrived like a gift. His attacks followed a ritual, every single time. He waited near a parked car. He watched the woman approach. He let her get close enough to feel safe, and then he moved. Knife out, hand over mouth, total control in seconds. He forced them into their own cars, made them drive to isolated locations south of the city. Farm tracks, country lanes, places with no lights and no witnesses. And when it was over, he made them drive him back, always back to where he took them. He got out. He walked away. He left nothing. Nothing, except what he chose to leave. And here is what the profile said about his timing. He attacked between 6 and 8 p.m., or between 1 and 3 a.m., never in between. That gap in the middle of the night, that is not random. That is a man with a schedule, a job, a routine, someone waiting at home, someone who had to be back by a certain time. And then came the detail that stopped investigators cold. During one attack, he paused, mid-crime. He reached over to his victim, took her lighter from her hand, and used it to check the time on her wristwatch. He had somewhere to be. Think about what that means. A man in the middle of an act of violence, watching the clock. Not desperate, not panicking, managing his time. That is not a man who lives in the shadows. That is a man who goes home to a normal life. A door that opens. A woman who doesn't ask questions. A bed that is warm. A man nobody suspects. That is exactly why nobody caught him. In 1995, he left something behind at a crime scene. A baseball cap, black. Batman logo on the front. The newspapers called it a mistake. It was not a mistake. That cap was a free gift, given away with a Batman VHS cassette sold at Woolworths in 1995. He didn't accidentally drop it. He placed it. He wanted the police to find it. He wanted a name. Not because he wanted to be caught, but because he wanted to be known. There is a cold, specific difference between those two things, and he understood it perfectly. Police launched Operation Eagle, what would become, officially, Britain's longest-running serial rape investigation. They DNA tested 2,000 men, 2,000. Every one of them, not a match. They dropped leaflets through 25,000 homes. The biggest leaflet campaign in UK criminal history. Nothing. A £10,000 reward was offered. It was never claimed. In January 2000, BBC Crime Watch aired a full national appeal. Millions of people watched. 6 new victims came forward. Dozens of calls flooded in. For the first time, investigators felt something close to hope. And the Batman Rapist, he was watching too. The night after Crime Watch aired, he attacked again. Not once, twice, back to back. 2 women, one night. The very night after his face and description were broadcast to the entire country. This was not desperation. This was not a man running scared. This was a message. I heard everything you said about me. I watched you try. And I want you to understand something. I am not afraid of you. A criminal psychologist on the case described him as having a military-style mindset. Brazen, prepared, completely in control. The night Britain tried to unmask him, he went hunting. Police had a suspect. They never named him publicly. He was known only as the diplomat's son. British man, right age, right build, blue eyes, and here is where it gets chilling. The Batman Rapist went completely silent between 1991 and 1994. No attacks, no sightings, nothing. Where was the diplomat's son during those years? Living abroad, following his father's diplomatic posting. The rapist went silent again between 1997 and 1999. Where was the diplomat's son? Abroad again. 2 silent gaps. 2 periods abroad, matching almost perfectly. Police flew overseas to investigate him. They found nothing conclusive. He was never charged. The investigation went cold. But ask yourself, what are the odds? Either this man is the most unlucky innocent person in British criminal history, or someone, somewhere, has been protecting him. For 30 years. June 9, 1996. A young woman named Melanie Hall goes out with friends. Cadillac's nightclub, Walcott Street, Bath. She is laughing, dancing, alive. Sometime that night, she is seen talking to a man near the bar. White male, about 27, medium build, dark brown hair, dark eyes, bushy eyebrows, clean-shaven, black trousers, black shoes, a brown silk shirt. Nobody knows his name. Melanie leaves with him, or is taken by him. She is never seen alive again. 13 years pass. 13 years of her parents not knowing where she was, whether she was alive, whether she suffered. 13 years of waking up every morning and not knowing. In 2009, workers clearing undergrowth near Junction 14 of the M5 motorway find a black rubbish sack hidden in the bushes. Inside the sack, human bones. Melanie Hall, identified after 13 years, disposed of like rubbish on the side of a motorway. Her parents finally had an answer, but not justice, because police tested the DNA from her remains against the Batman Rapist. No match. 2 separate predators. Same city, same years, same darkness. Bath in the 1990s was not just stalked by one monster, it had 2. And as of today, both are still free. 30 years. Let that sit for a moment. 30 years since his first confirmed attack. 17 confirmed victims, and those are only the ones who came forward. A DNA fingerprint that has existed since 2001. And here is the question nobody in authority has ever answered publicly. Why has familial DNA testing never been run on this case? This technology traces relatives of an unknown offender. It has cracked cases that were completely cold. It has put names to ghosts. The DNA exists. The technology exists. The victims exist, and they are still waiting. So why, after 30 years, has this one tool never been used? And then there is the theory that a cold case investigator put forward, quietly, carefully, after years of studying this case. He believes the Batman Rapist may already be in prison, not for the rapes, for something worse, something he eventually escalated to. Because men like this do not retire. They do not wake up one morning and decide to stop. They evolve, or they get caught for something else. And if that is true, somewhere in the British prison system right now, there is a man serving a sentence, a man whose DNA is already on file, a man who has never been checked against Operation Eagle, 17 women, waiting for a database search that has never happened. I want to go back to the women for a moment, because it is easy, in a case this cold, this complicated, this full of theories and suspects and unanswered questions, to forget about them. Linda Hamblin was 42 years old. She fought back. He slashed through the tendons in her wrist with the knife. She needed plastic surgery. She carries that scar today. A 16-year-old schoolgirl was dragged into an alley at knifepoint. A child, one woman, so traumatized by what happened to her, could not tell police until he attacked again. She needed to know she was not alone before she could say the words out loud. One victim was driven around a village in second and third gear, slowly, deliberately, for no reason except control, before the attack. He was not in a hurry. He never was. These are not case file numbers. These are women who walked to their cars on ordinary evenings and had their entire lives fractured by a man who then went home, checked his watch, and slept. Not one of them has ever seen him face a single consequence. He would be in his 60s now, possibly older. He has lived an entire life since the last confirmed attack. He has had decades of mornings, decades of ordinary days, decades of knowing exactly what he did and walking free. He could be anyone. A neighbor, a grandfather, a man who holds the door open for you in a supermarket and nods and smiles. The Batman cap is sitting in an evidence box. The DNA is in a database. The case is still open. And somewhere out there, right now, a man who terrorized an entire city for nearly a decade is living the life his victims never got back. The only question left is whether anybody still has the will to find him. The Batman Rapist case, Operation Eagle, is still officially open. Crime Stoppers UK accepts anonymous information. The £10,000 reward has never been claimed.